Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
All right. Good morning, everybody. It is Monday. Probably going to be a little bit quieter of a week, but well, let's see. We're not like too deep into the month, are we? And there's still things to find out and things to move the market. So let's come over and look at the charts. It does look like you can just see down there in the treasuries. Like, that's my first thought is like, oh, okay, they're starting the week. They're starting the week with a move. Okay, I have to roll over natural gas here. Let's come over to our volume profile and look. Okay, so it looks like in the overnight that they are, for the most part, just retracing the up move that they had like Thursday night, Friday morning in the treasuries. Here you got the S&P 500 on a little bit of a mean reversion down, which is exactly what we would expect after some pretty spectacular push to new highs. We got oil a little bit back from its highs earlier last week, not doing a whole lot interesting. Same with gold and silver. Every time that gold and silver kind of like make new highs, there's somebody taking it the other way, man. Like, geez. It's so hated, even though it's been doing really well this year. Kappa's doing, Look, this up move right here was really, really great. So, it's okay. We're giving a little bit of it back. They're okay. 6J, Japanese yen has been going sideways for several days now, but the dollar has been moved by some other things, and we're actually pretty high. We're touching 104 now almost, so that's interesting. And then Bitcoin, a little bit of a bounce over the weekend. Nothing too crazy, but a little bit of a bounce. Which I would hope so, because again, Bitcoin is there's quite a bit further it could go, but they're kind of starting to mess with some levels that like they start turning down again, it could be really bad for them. So I would expect those levels to hold though. Okay, so let's come in here and look at our thing. So we do get Chicago National Activity Index and Fed's Goolsby. So let us let's see here. That was the 22nd. Okay. Let's beginning of week. No positions yet. Of course, we just started here. Let's clear this stuff out. Okay. Chicago National Activity Index. Not much of a reaction to that. No reaction. We do have here Goolsby speaks. That's super important. Slow Monday flows. So because it's Monday, we generally expect there to be less trades. I tend to take less trades on a Monday. And I think that's basically all I got right now. So let's first pop around a few places. I'll see if there's anything on Twitter. Okay, Bostic is speaking. That was not on my calendar. Oh, I need to make sure that my news squawk is going too. Okay, let's add him over here. Bostic speaks. I expect the economy and inflation to slow gradually. I think another thing that we need to keep in mind today, I don't think that this will apply to our session, but Trump has to post bond deadline. He has to post a bond before the end of the day, or they're going to start trying to take away his stuff. I don't know if that will affect markets, but it certainly is a politically significant event that we want to monitor.
Fitch ratings say UK bank ratings are unaffected by sovereign outlook.
Lawrence McDonald has a book. Let's see what his book. Well, let's see what his book is. I can't tell. I can't tell from the post that they. So maybe that'll come up later. Okay, Reuters article, Japan FXSR says speculation behind the weak yen ready to take action. It's becoming clear that the Japanese authorities were expecting a yen appreciation or at least no further depreciation in response to last week's monetary policy. Or monetary policy measures. Instead, the markets interpreted the measures as too small a step in a very long journey. Okay, so let's make note of that too. Yen weak. Authorities. Trial balloon. Intervention. Do we have a 2-year bond auction today? Well, we have a 6 and 3 month and 2 year. Yep. Two-year bond auction. 6 and 3 month bills. Good pick. Good catch, Navith. By the way, that's a new name. Have you been here before, or I missed you? But I'm glad to see you here. I was always kind of perks my attention when I see somebody that's brand new, making good contributions. Imagine having your property seized because some judge used the assessed value of your home instead of its market value as a foundation for his argument that you can. Yeah. Dude, the whole story, like when you really get into like the details of it, is super crazy. I don't know what ends up happening, because I think a big factor in this lawfare. Okay. I want to share this. I know that this is seems like a little bit what is the word? A little bit of a tangent, but I'm going to tell you something that can really, really help you navigate these sorts of news stories, okay? There's two things about lawfare that I think people don't expect. But if you really watch these stories, like you really stick in on them through the whole to fruition, okay? You will notice these things, okay? The first thing is that a large part of the intention, a large part of their intention is simply to embroil you in legal battles for a long period of time, so that you have to spend tons of money doing it, and that depletes your resources. So that's one of the main objectives for it, right? So this sort of stuff, This is going to go on for months and months, if not years, before there's like a full resolution of it. And that's a really key thing to understand, because I think a lot of people that come in and they'll be, they'll be super animated about the issue at first, and then they forget about it really quickly, right? The second thing is that they are very often multi-tiered strategies. So I'll give you an example. Joe Biden implemented student loan forgiveness. When he did that, eventually that went through the courts. It took a year or two to get through the courts, right? And then the Supreme Court threw it out. Okay. A week later, Joe Biden used a similar law as a justification for doing the exact same thing. And I don't even know if there's like anything going through the courts to try and prevent that one now, right? So what they will do is they will often throw out their worst legal tactic first, right? Make you fight that one and then fight another one, and then they save their best thing for last, actually, right? So I think that you will probably see that with this fraud case, that once this might have to go through some crazy courts and crazy stuff in order to throw it down, because it's a very clear abuse of the judge's power and everything. And then probably the next week they'll be throwing something else at him. That's the way that they work. So be prepared, right? So I think that a lot of people, they go like, okay, we just gotta make it through this one court case and then it's done. No, it's not. It's never the end. It's just like Kyle Rittenhouse, he's being like sued civilly now, right? Not even pro-Trump bias denial. It's legitimately BS. You're totally right. Like, you are seeing large numbers of people on the left recognizing the issues with this court case and saying that it's unfair. But of course, they're not going to do anything. They're just going to go along with it because, number one, like, what are they going to do? And then number two, they don't want to like call attention to themselves. So anyways, but he's supposed to post the bond today. So that's an important thing to look at. Okay. Now, I'm just thinking now, we're expecting to see Japanese yen. Are we seeing it move up? We are. So I think that we could maybe justify some longs despite the really strong up move that we just had. I'm going to kind of let it sit here, but normally I don't like taking trades on a Monday, but that already has me a little bit Let's post that on Discord. The only people who could possibly buy this BS are the people who don't understand that the taxable value of homes are lower than the market value. Well, they're not necessarily supposed to, but they can be, right? The thing that I think is ridiculous about it is that the way that this goes is you say, okay, we want a loan. And then the bank says, okay, what collateral are you going to put up for it? And you say, okay, well, I have this property and this property in this business, and we value those things at this valuation. And then the bank will come back to you and they will negotiate with you. They'll say like, well, we don't think that this thing is worth this and that this thing is worth this. And therefore we think the interest rate that you should get should be this. And then you'll come back and you'll argue with them, and you know, you get closer and closer until you decide, you know, you negotiate the value of your assets and the interest rates that you should get in that kind of a situation, right? So the bank knew all of this stuff, negotiated it, and then the state is coming in afterwards and saying like, well, no, we don't agree with the deal that you made. It's really crazy. And you know, Kevin O'Leary, you seen how hopping mad he gets about this issue whenever it comes up on television? And I don't think that that's just because he's like a self-promoter and he wants to be on television and all that sort of stuff. Like, he is genuinely triggered by this because he's thinking the same thing. He's like, oh, they could come after me for exactly the same thing. Because all they have to do is come in and say, well, we don't like the valuation that you got on this and this and that and the other, right? And since you're talking about something that doesn't have a real objective value, it's something that's negotiated on the deal and everything. If a judge can come in and do that, then basically every businessman that's been involved in any kind of a real estate deal could be targeted, but with that kind of action, right? So it's really quite insane. Like if this was used as a precedent, the business impact of this in New York is massive. And I gotta tell you, it's just, you know, another thing along the line of like New York has just been gutted, man. It's just been completely gutted. The difference between the market value of my home and the value the state taxes me on is nearly 200. Really? Well, you've never been in this situation where the property tax, dude. Let me tell you something, Uzi. That is not the usual. Okay, but in fact, most people. Well, I'm not going to say most people, but I would say it's very, very common for the state government or whatever to assess your property tax as much higher than it actually should be. So what you have to do then is like you have to come in, because what they do is they say, oh, this house near you that is comparable sold for this amount. Therefore, your house should be worth this much, right? And then you'll have to go in and say like, well, but here are the differences between my house and that house that make it so that I would never get that price if it was out on the market. Right now, the price that they are taxing me on, well, not this year, but last year, the price that they taxed me on was higher than like what the Zillow price was. And the Zillow price is usually a little high, you know? Yeah, exactly. I pull literally any house at random and I'll guarantee the assessed values are lower than the estimated Zillow. Yeah. So for the government to be asking or assessing it higher than the Zillow value is kind of like a little silly, right? It's not a big enough deal for me to push against it, but for some people it is worth it, and you have to fight them on it and stuff, and there's this whole arduous process and they make it super difficult. But to be 280 under, that's not normal. that's I'm, you know, what's going on over there that your local government is squeezing you so much less than the rest of us? Anyways. You have homestead exempt. I don't know what that is. But that's interesting. Actually, the funny thing was last year, because the home, like the home values came down, I made like actually a decent amount off of interest from the escrow for paying the taxes on my house. It was like, I mean, it wasn't like crazy, but it was like $30 or something. You heard these stories though of people in some areas where like they got in really, really early and that area has now become extremely wealthy or whatever, and like they're paying more in property taxes than they did on the mortgage. Like, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine. At the same time, I can't imagine paying $4,000 a month in mortgage, but there's a lot of people in the country now doing that. Any resident can declare a homestead exemption on their primary residence. First responders and teachers get an extra $25K on top. Oh. Okay, Treasury has been relatively quiet. I'm still kind of suspicious that what was your bill? I'd have to pull it out. I don't even remember. It gets rolled into the thing. I think it's I'm pretty sure it's a few thousand though, because it adds a couple $100 to the mortgage. And it irks me that it keeps going up. Because I want to get my expenses as low as possible so that I can put more money a month into investments. Yeah, it never goes down. You're right. You're right. I tell you what, man. It's super crazy the games they play with you, though. So I remember when I lived in the Mill Creek area, and Mill Creek is this interesting area in Salt Lake that is pretty central Salt Lake, but for some odd reason was never incorporated into a city, right? In Utah, we're not like in New York, they have like New York City and then there's like the subboroughs or something like that, right? And so in a lot of cities, they will have the big city authority, and then they'll have kind of more local authorities and stuff like that. In Utah, they just remain the small little subcities. So Utah, Salt Lake City is really composed of, like a dozen or so smaller cities. And I'm sure that that's like that for many places, but not everywhere is like that. Okay. But this area of Mill Creek, it's very densely populated. It actually has very, very nice home values. It has like a little shopping center and everything. Never incorporated into a city. And so there was all of these areas in Salt Lake County that were never incorporated and were thus under the authority of Salt Lake County. Okay. So eventually the residents in Mill Creek were kind of like, hey, we don't like much the things that are happening at the county level. We don't feel like that they represent us very well. We should have our own city so that we can make our own decisions about how we want things to be done in our neighborhood. Seems fairly straightforward, right? Okay. Well, the Democrat power base in Salt Lake is Salt Lake County, right? So they're going to do absolutely everything that they can to cling on to that little bit of power that they can at the local level. So when Mill Creek decided to incorporate, they fought it so hard. It was crazy. And I went to all these meetings because I got involved with the people trying to make it a city. I didn't have a whole lot to do at the time. We didn't have kids yet, so I did politics, right? And I remember going to all of these meetings saying like, look, if we don't incorporate, then we will just petition to get our neighborhood absorbed into another nearby city to get annexed, and then the rest of you will be left high and dry. And what they're going to do is they're just going to increase your taxes, and you're already paying more under the county than you would be under being a city, right? And then in these meetings, they would get up and they would argue with you about this, and we would get up online and show them, like, here's your assessed tax, here are the different taxes that you're paying right now. These are the ones that wouldn't apply to you anymore, and these are the ones that would be replaced. And so you would be paying less as a city.
I want to avoid.
And they would lie. They would lie and try and confuse people in these meetings so that they weren't sure if you would actually pay more in taxes or not. And then what happened was the incorporation effort failed the first time. First time it failed. And immediately after it failed, the county made an effort to change the rules so that basically these areas could never incorporate. They would always and forever be under the jurisdiction of Salt Lake County, right? And then immediately after that, they raised everybody's taxes, just like we said that they would do. And when that happened, then it was undeniable. Then everybody in Mill Creek was like, no, this is bullshit. And the very next year, they voted to incorporate. It is just insane to me. the games that people will play, that they will play with this sort of stuff. And it all had to do with property taxes and stuff, right? Where they were intentionally trying to confuse people about their property taxes. And I mean, the tax increase that they did was not small either. It was like a 20% increase or something. And everybody was like, why am I giving you 20% more money for the absolutely terrible service? The reason I got involved was because at the apartment complex that I lived at the time, there was a murder across the street. And I saw how long it took for the police to respond and how they responded to it and everything. And I was like, this is BS. They're on the other side of the valley and not serving my community. What are my taxes paying for? Nothing. Ridiculous. And you know what? They did make a city, and it sounds like that. I moved after that, but it sounds like that they're a lot happier now. Aussie Markets, you are the only person on YouTube with this amazing trading software setup. Please teach us in a video I've been watching for about 6 months now. Am I really the only one? Well, I don't know. I'm sure that there are other people with the DOM, but nobody else is really watching the treasuries, and so they probably don't have as many instruments up.
9:05 a.m. Eastern time. We expect comments.
But it's just Jigsaw Day Trader, and then I use Ninja Trader for my charts. Jigsaw has its own charts. They're okay. I kind of have mixed feelings with Ninja Trader because you really kind of have to use them as your broker, and maybe you don't want to use them as your broker. But I really like the software. Really, really like the software. It is better than Jigsaw's charts. But Jigsaw's charts are almost to the point where like they get the job done. So yeah, no one does it. Yeah, well, most the difference is this. Most people are doing the popular thing. They're trying to do price action, which is really what all it is just taking on big risks, and that works most of the time, but then every once in a while you just get destroyed, right? But that's the popular strategy. Everybody believes in it, whereas what we're doing is, I think, a lot more sophisticated. We're looking for things that we can know that can potentially predict future order flows, and then we're watching the order flow to see if they match those predictions, right? That means that we have to be really informed about the market. We have to know what's going on today. So it's a Monday. It's a relatively quiet day. And yet when we all, and you guys really helped me today. When we were going through our list of flows, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different things that are flows to potentially move us. Bostic and Goolsby, I don't know how those will go. Those might be dovish. Monday kind of says we're not going to have a whole lot of flow. Trump bond deadline, I don't know how that one will work out, but I don't think that will hit until long after we're gone. Right? But then we also have auctions. Auctions tend to be sell into the auction and then buy afterwards. Last auction that we had was pretty good. So I think that today, based on my flows, even though my longer term kind of bias right now is that interest rates perhaps need to go higher, I think that today, especially because of the weak yen, that we should be looking for longs. And if I can see something in the order flow that really suggests to me that that's what's happening, I might take it. This spot at 22 isn't bad. I think that I'm a little weary about how I'm feeling and it being a Monday and everything to put my money on the line, but let's just take it kind of like a trial sim trade here. You motivated me to stop trading Forex and technicals? Well, good. Good. So I have a video coming up. I wrote the script for it yesterday. Oh, it's not up anymore. But I wrote my script for my momentum strategy. I really, really want to be able to record it this week and then put it out on Monday. But we'll see how scheduling works and all that. The wife and kids are going to go and visit her parents again this weekend. And when they do that, they stay into the week because they get all of next week off. But a big part of my job is being there to fix things when things go wrong. And so I never want to walk away from my computer now so I won't be joining them. That will give me a lot of time this weekend to record a video. There won't be any children around to be screaming, so I can really record a good video. Probably work on the cable tray for the desk. The desk itself is done, but we're making a cable tray to go along the back of it to deal with my absolutely insane cable management issues. So I'm gonna put that momentum video out.
Effective Fed funds rate
and
spot 3.3.
That video is going to be interesting
from March
because momentum is kind of where I think everybody gets the idea that they should trade technical analysis. Okay, because momentum is a strategy that you can do that is based largely on past prices. Okay, but retail traders don't apply it in the same way that professional traders trade momentum. A professional trader is trading momentum across a wide universe of assets, usually futures, but they might have 100 different futures in that universe that they trade, and they're switching between them based on
Eastern time. We expect
various different types of momentum methods, like maybe a 50-day high low, for instance, might be one trigger, right? And then they're holding it for months on end. Right? Well, you come in and you try and trade based off of a moving average on an intraday basis. It's not the same thing, and the math doesn't work out, right? A major factor in how we trade, or the way that I teach to trade at least, is that we want to participate on the intraday time period. And these are the things that dominate the intraday day trading time period. So yes, I'm very happy if I see people out there go, oh, these technicals, they don't really help me, especially if you're trading price action and chart patterns and things like that. Because here's the other thing. Here's the other mistake that people make and I believe that the popular term for this is particularizing the general. So if I come in and I perform a momentum strategy across a number of assets, right? And it's a profitable strategy. Okay. So when X signal happens, I buy it. Over the long term, I make money. Okay. What that means is that over a very large sample size, I make money. In this instance, with momentum, because the winners are larger than the losers. So it's not actually a predictive signal at all. It's something that has to happen for trend to begin, right? For there to be a trend, there has to be like the start of the trend. And if you're just getting in everything when there is a possible start of trend signal, then the ones that actually do become trends, you make so much compared to the ones that don't, that you make money. Okay, right? That does not mean that you can come in and you can look at an individual chart and say, this chart has this and this and this, and so that means it's more likely to move up. It doesn't work like that. You only make money on that sort of situation if you're trading like every time that it happens, right? You're particularizing the general. It's a fallacy. And what most retail traders do is they learn all of the patterns, and then they say, here are all of the patterns that I think are relevant in this situation. And then they're trying to use their discretion to determine which ones matter and which way it's going to go. Fool's game. There's absolutely no, it's a complete misunderstanding of statistics, right? That's what we do. So I'm excited to put that video out because I want to give the retail trading world a better view, a better understanding of what a momentum strategy is, and to get in more on these strategies that are actually used by professionals and see how that affects the retail trading world, if we can get that video to do well. Jigsaw needs to make it so that you can use their charts via the bridge. You know what, Uzi? I don't think it's ever going to happen, to be honest with you. Because what happens is the bridge is essentially taking advantage of a nifty little feature in the .NET CLR framework that basically allows one application to see the memory space of another application. They can kind of like intentionally set it up and share memory. So what's actually happening is on the NinjaTrader side, something comes in and puts something in that memory space. And then on the other side, on the Jigsaw side, the DOM takes the data out of that memory space and, uses it. Okay. And that space is different from the space that Jigsaw's default data providers use, essentially, right? So what that would mean is in order for Jigsaw to add that support, they would have to program it, essentially. Like it's a decent amount of work for them to do it. And they don't really want to do it. Because if you're using the bridge,
Shortly expecting comments from
why would you want to use Jigsaw's? If you're using the bridge, why would you want to use Jigsaw's charts anyways? You would rather use NinjaTrader's charts. It's true. So I'm excited to watch the video. What you said just makes perfect sense. Good. I'm gonna try and spend the week, collaborating with ChatGPT to make the script as good as possible, so we can get a really good, engaging video that YouTube will really like. So we'll try hard. It's been a while since I've made a video, so that's me. That's kind of like my ADHD procrastination and stuff. Actually, it's the freaking kids. Like, that's my excuse. Asher, my 4-year-old, just dominates all time and attention. 4 to 5 years old is supposed to be the point at which you can kind of like stop paying attention, or you can relax a little bit. But he is basically like a 4-year-old with the mind of a 2-year-old.
Commercial real estate risk,
and he has a little brother that he just will not leave alone. Will not leave Ethan alone. And so it's just constant screaming. Yeah, I can't I can't leave them for more than a second with like it's literally like, can I even pee? Is he gonna kill his brother if I go and pee? It's so exhausting, man. And that's a major factor behind why I haven't made a whole lot of videos this year. Because it's just gotten like worse. Once Ethan got to the point where he was like really actively moving around and stuff. And causing messes too. That's the other thing, is Ethan causes so much mess. Haven't had a whole lot of brain power. And then on top of that, I switched jobs about 6 months ago, and this new job is a lot more energy, let's say. Right. I can definitely see, I don't know if it just has something to do with like mental energy and stuff like that, but like for some reason, I've had less to put into the trading, and my trading hasn't been as good since I started that new job. But it's worth it in the long run. It'll be good for us. Anyways, so before we got into all of that, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah. I was here on Twitter looking through stuff. There's nothing too interesting over there. I am still on the lookout for potential Japanese yen intervention, and that would probably cause buying in the treasuries. For now, though, I'm not sure I'm seeing it. It does look like I got a pretty good price at 22 on that sim trade, though. Next thing I want to do is come over to Zero Hedge and some of the other news websites and see what they got going. Oh, well, now that's interesting. Their top, well, they don't have any pinned stories, but the first headline I see is, as a trader, it's not your job to be right. It is to figure out what others will do. That is so correct, right? It's the flows that move things. You want to predict the flows, you basically have to predict what other people will do.
And says it doesn't feel
Let's
like
read
the story
this.
has fundamentally changed.
This is by Eric Peters, CIO of One River Asset Management. They post this guy a lot, and he generally has pretty okay articles. This isn't too long, is it? Okay, yeah, we'll read this. Why do people feel that to be a good leader, they must absolutely believe in one direction over another, one path over another, one person over another, asks the investor and allocator. Why do most people feel they have to live in a world of absolutes? We were discussing the illusion of certainty. We live in a world filled with questions, and the best trades I've known have never been sure of anything. The blessing and curse of this business is that it forces us to come to terms with how little we know. It is at once terribly humbling and awe-inspiring, in that to maintain your balance, you must continually seek to define a wide range of possible outcomes and possibilities, which is an exciting journey requiring imagination and recognition that world history is the story of chance. Surprise. Most successful traders speak in probabilities of one thing over another. Not one dares pound the table and state something with absolute certainty. I have friends who can change their mind twice in the same sentence, that they are the survivors in their wake are those who needed to be right. Something in our nature, perhaps society, leads us to believe that to have gravitas, we need to make grand pronouncements and appear definitive. Such statements are almost always wrong, yet we continue to listen in a hopeless pursuit of certainty. The best leaders among us seem to understand that their gift is not in pointing the way, it's in taking input, maintaining flexibility, openness, adjusting en route, he said. As a trader, your job is to figure out what others will do because of their political and financial orientation. In a world that is unknowable, forever changing, and then make money with that. I think so. I think that a lot of what's going on in the market right now comes down to those sorts of things. Like, people have this natural inclination to want the interest rates to come down. One, because a lot of the people involved in markets are Democrats, and they think that lower interest rates will help Joe Biden. And then there's other people that they want to buy houses or whatever, or their business, and so they want the interest rates to come down as well. But there are some things out there that I think the market is underpricing that could kind of undermine all of that. Well, we'll see. Some of the European central banks are already cutting.
Be more disruptive.
I think that if the Federal Reserve did not cut in June, it would cause a lot of drama. So I think that they will at the very least cut in June, and if not a second time. I'm not sure if they'll do 3 cuts this year, though. And after that, after the 2 or 3 cuts, I don't think they should get a whole lot more than that. After 6 years trading Forex and MetaTrader 4, I'm switching over to what you are using in the DOM, just sticking to the S&P and NASDAQ. What type of approach do you think I should have when it comes to trading momentum? Well, so when it comes to momentum, remember that the way that it works is that you're trading a portfolio of assets and you're looking for some sort of an entry signal that there is momentum in that stock, right? So in order for this to work, the real magic is in the universe of assets to trade and having multiple positions, right? So if we can't do that, if we're just going to come in and day trade, then really what we have to do to take advantage of momentum is just make note of if there is momentum in the asset that we're trading or not. And if there is, then that is one potential flow that we could list on our thing, on our daily synopsis here, right? If it was like, November, December, January, when we had some pretty positive momentum, then I would list that all of these CTA strategies and so forth are going to be allocating into
the main puzzle with inflation is in housing.
Now with the S&P 500 is a little bit of a different game because there's a lot of randomness, right? And so there's 2 ways that you can kind of approach that randomness. One is you can try and do the noise trading thing, which is like, I think that we're within a range. I'm going to try and get 2 points. I'll have a stop that is well outside of the average true range that we get. Most of the time that target will get hit long before the stop gets hit, right? Issue with that setup is it has a far left tail. So usually people will do pretty okay with that for a year or 2 and then just get absolutely decimated, right? The other option you can do is kind of sit and wait and bide your time. Wait for a situation where it's moving down and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Buy the dip. Look for an opportunity where you know that because of a news story or whatever, that you're going to get a pretty good bump. And then once you got something running, you just try and let it run as far as you can. Because on the on the MES or whatever it is,
was in line
if you catch one of those, and especially if you can hold it for multiple days, right? That makes a ton of money real quick, right? Like you can double your money real quick if you catch one of those. So that's what I would kind of be looking for. Now you still want to know everything, you still want to be informed, keep track of the flows. It's just that in the S&P 500, there's going to be a lot more noise and things that you can't predict. Like there's already lots of situations in the treasuries where we don't know what's going on. It moves, but we don't know what the flow was, for instance, right? You're going to be in that situation a lot more often in ES. So you got to keep in mind, it's an advanced instrument. ES is an advanced instrument. Very, very difficult. Like the professionals, a lot of the professionals I've spoken to, like at the banks and stuff, they don't like trading the S&P futures because they think it's mostly noise. Nose is itching a ton. Okay, so I saw this TikTok this morning where somebody said that they have like information on stock manipulation. And let me, so I'm pulling it up here and now I'm trying to look at that. Let me make sure that I got, RAUI trades. Yes. Let's see if this guy is full of crap or not. Okay, this guy is full of crap. This guy is full of crap. He doesn't look to me like he has anything. He's just like, look, it stops at this price. That's such a big he's full of shit. It means nothing. Oh my gosh. I thought I was gonna actually get data. When information like this hits social media, it can, he's just trying to become viral by BSing people. It's full of crap. Okay, well, what else we got going on? Treasury is still right there at my price. It looks like, I got in at a decent, there is a liquidity hole here, and I got in at a decent price. I maybe could have tried getting a tick out of there. Feel like it's a little bit late into the hole for me to try and do that now, though. Sidian, welcome. How are you doing? You're not on time, but you're not coming in like the last 5 minutes of the stream, so we're glad to have you here a little earlier today, huh? Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun plans to step down. Good. I don't know why. It must be like the storm came through and has come past, but it just is must be drier today because my nose feels really dry and itchy. Reddit may need to ramp up spending on content moderation, analysts say. Okay. I'm a bite. What does Reuters have to say about this one? Reddit will need to spend heavily on content moderation as it may face greater scrutiny as a public company, analysts say, threatening its long-standing policy of relying on an army of volunteers to maintain order on its platform. The newly listed company warned in its initial public offering that its unique approach to content moderation can sometimes be subject to disruptions, like in 2023 when several moderators protested against its decision to change to third-party app developers for access to its data. Yeah, well, it's really crazy. I know that this all comes through stock compensation and everything, but like their CEO makes like almost as much as like their net income from last year. Like his compensation is like several $100 million, and Reddit only made several $100 million. And then their expenses were so high and they lost money. So it's like, so why is the CEO getting paid so much? It's ridiculous. Oh, dude, I'm so glad that we brought this up, because you know what we need to do? We need to saunter on over to Fidelity and see what happens on the open with Reddit calls and puts. Sorry, Reddit options is what I should say. Reddit options, yes. All right, let's see here. I unfortunately don't think that I will be able to actually play this game today because the stock is like $30-$50, right? Yes, my understanding is that they're supposed to put options out today. RDDT. Yep. So it shows me the, what's available at least. But there are no bids or offers yet. So perhaps when the S&P 500 opens, then we will be able to see. I would have thought that like 10 minutes before that they would have bids and offers out on the book and that the market makers would be showing us the prices, but maybe they are and Fidelity just doesn't give me that data yet. But yes, they have options. I kind of think that if people are gonna like go short Reddit, they'll do it with puts today. So, like, I could see people coming in and buying far out of the money puts here. Overall, the first 2 days of trading in Reddit was mildly successful, so we'll see how it goes. I'm kind of, the way that this is all going and everything, it feels very suspiciously like a cash grab to me, right? That they're trying to get people to buy into it so that the executives can sell and make their money. And of course, there is a good investment thesis on it too, which is that, you know, it has AI data essentially. It's a great training data set for AI. It's just that, like, I think Google's already using that and they're not making that much money off it. So, like, where is this profitability going to come from? I don't know. Usually the way that this goes is that the website just becomes worse and worse and worse, and eventually something better pops up. There's lots of people trying to replace it. I haven't seen something that really has the killer app, you know? Well, anyways, the first comment on the Reddit thread about content moderation is, we have content moderation? Question. Imagine being one of the mods not getting paid and reading this. Yeah. They really want to go the route of Tumblr. Absolutely worthless evaluation on the way. Well, but they haven't banned porn yet on Reddit. Yeah, that's exactly what it means. If Reddit banned porn, I think that would really significantly hurt their website for sure. I don't know what percentage of their comment is based on I don't know what percentage of their content is based on that stuff, but I think it's a substantial amount. So here's something. This is from r/millennials. I am 57. Not only does it feel like something wicked this way comes, but there's also this feeling that the whole world is holding its breath, almost as though we are all waiting for some catalyst or sign or event that puts an end to this feeling of being put on hold. This vague, unexplained ease we feel, something terrible lurking just out of our field of vision, but we can feel it closing in. Cannot count the number of people who have told me they wish that whatever is going to happen would just get on with it. That's this waiting for the thing in darkness is unbearable. Okay, so that feeling is a common thing and is a reaction to, like, stress in your life and different kind of chemicals. So if you're feeling those kinds of feelings, first of all, like, stop reading the news and social media and just start ignoring that stuff. But you're also probably not working out. You probably don't have a very healthy diet. You might be a little bit into insulin resistance. So if you shift those things up, you will not have as much of that cortisol flowing in you all the time, and that kind of feeling of impending doom goes away. Kind of random, I know, but it popped up. Useful thing for traders to know, right? Because the cortisol can, you know, is something you really have to fight as a trader, right? People can get out of their depression by working out, eating healthy, and making an active effort to pursue goals, even if it's small baby steps. Well, there is some more recent evidence that, Wasn't there this study? I don't remember the specifics of it. Study that showed that the working out was as effective as the medications, which is kind of crazy because I think that some of the medications can kind of make it harder to work out, right? The medication that I'm on for ADHD makes it harder to work out. Like, I do not have the same gains since I started taking medication. I was doing pretty good and I was getting a lot stronger, and then I started taking the medication and just stopped right there. Bit iceberg there, 22.5. Curious. Why are you long? Okay, so here is our flows that we're looking at today. There was Chicago National Activity Index, that's kind of like a nothing burger piece of news. Market reacted to it. We have Fed speakers going on. I think we're already past that, though, and I didn't hear a whole lot on the news clock about it. It is Monday, so we'd expect it to be tight. But the big one, the yen, it has been weak. The Japanese government expected the things that they did last week to strengthen the currency, and it hasn't. So there has been comments from the FX czar, essentially, that this is all speculation and they are mulling intervention. So I am long on the hopes that some flows will come in long from the Bank of Japan. Now, there was this little move up that kind of came out of nowhere, and then the liquidity hole. So I was able to get in on the bottom side of the liquidity hole. I've been in it for a while. It's still like right at break even, but didn't really go against me. So I think I got an okay entry. We'll see if before the end of the session that we actually get that flow. This is extremely speculative, especially for a Monday, but that's kind of the thing that we're working on. I probably didn't need to give that detailed of an explanation to Octavius, but I could have just said, I think that the Bank of Japan is going to intervene again today. I kind of saw that flows along kind of made me suspicious. So we'll see if it actually happens. I kind of think that if they do it, that they will do it after the S&P 500 opens. Because they kind of like it to be like shock and awe. They want everybody in the markets to notice it. So they're going to do it during the most active times. That's the way it's gone in the past. So we'll see. We'll see.
Market on open imbalance, 21 million to the buy side.
Okay, so my news clock was just telling me that the market on open imbalance was to the buy side. Not seeing a ton of activity here off of the open. Let's refresh this page over here and see. Thank you, NVIDIA. Go away. Go away. Let's see if we can get Fidelity to show us what the options prices are. Ew, I just realized the frozen blueberries I put in my yogurt are expired. Yeah, that's gross. Okay, so I am seeing a little bit. Oh, now that's interesting. Now, which are these calls? April 19th. Yeah, I'm not seeing a whole lot of volume outside of that. And so let's do this. Where are my puts? Can I just say puts? Aha, yeah. Really? 10 cents? Really? That's interesting. So hold on.
Intel and AMD each fall 4%, leading semiconductor indexes lower.
Looks like the whack is doing crazy things again today. So they're 45. The low overnight was 44. But we're looking for 25. We're looking that is betting that it will go to I don't know, for $10 I feel like it's worth it, right? Like if I come in here, hold on a second. For $50? Okay, let's try it. Let's see if they fill it. If I put it in at 5 cents, let's see if they fill it. Okay. Well, they did have they did have January 2025 and January 2026, so they did have yearlies or leaps or whatever you want to call them. There's definitely more activity on the put side. I think it's kind of funny. Like, look, these guys buying all of the puts down at the lowest strike that they can. Oh, man. I think that's really funny. Let's see here. Activity and orders, that's what I want to look at. I don't think that they're going to fill me. If it gets filled, I'm going to be like, it's going to be hilarious. But right now, Reddit is looking okay on the open. Like they've had a little bit of momentum be open, and I don't know. The chances of it going all the way down to 25, I don't think are very good, are they, right? Let's see. While I'm at it, I should vote these proxy shares on. Oh, wow. Oh, but those aren't for a while. I think we're okay. I don't have to worry about that right now. need to keep this options window open now. I thought that options for Reddit would be a lot more expensive than that. So that is really, really interesting to me. I guess because of the way that this is, I'll just monitor the... Oh, it looks like they're already running away from me because now the best bid is at 10 cents. So whoever's buying these is not stopping. I wish I could see the book. Can I see the book? Maybe I can see the book. Oh, I can. Bid size and offer size. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. $95 asking for 0.5. Maybe I should be pulling up their day trade platform and watching this. I think I will. Oh, do I not have it installed on this machine?
WTI futures rise by $1 to $81.63 a barrel.
Getting a big jump in oil here. Is that jump in oil pushing down the treasuries? Oh, the oil? I bet. It's a pretty good jump. It's like, what, a 60-cent jump? Moving that over here. It does kind of appear that the jump in oil there might be pushing the treasuries down a little bit. So that's important for us to note. And I haven't seen any further activity coming out of the yen. So this is where I'm like, my ears perk up. Hostage talks stall as Israeli defense minister arrives in Washington, reports the Wall Street Journal. So that might be the story that's driving oil there. Joseph Wang. Stocks look to continue to crash up as synchronized global cutting cycle begins. The whole may be greater than the sum, and the potential for negative economic surprises amidst high policy rates skews the risk towards more cuts than expected, says Joseph Wang. Ah, interesting. I want to say that Ukraine has hit Russian refineries too. I think that was the initial catalyst. But does that happen just now though? I know that was something that was happening like last week or over the weekend or something like that, but I haven't seen a headline about it today. Not overnight our time. Yeah, okay. That story is actually really interesting because as far as I can tell, Ukraine has kind of been holding off on doing things like that because Joe Biden doesn't like it. And now Ukraine is kind of like just being like, look, we're going to do what we got to do. If you don't like it, then, you know, get us more funding, right? So that is a really interesting story. And it sounds to me like the Ukrainians are starting to feel a little desperate. Like they're out of ammo is the biggest problem. So Alligator says flat since last Tuesday's confirmation, nothing to be fixed at the moment. I do think the catalyst, yeah. Well, he said that, right? That was something that had us up overnight in oil. But I do think that the hostage talks stall is the story. Because weren't they supposed to have moved into Rafah already? Right? I think that they've kind of been delaying in the hopes that maybe talks could accomplish something. But Netanyahu has been talking like they're ready to move in, so I don't think that will stay for very long. After that little move down, we have been in kind of like a little bit of a hole again. Well, I think I can let this, it's a sim trade, so I'm just gonna kind of let it do its thing. See where we go. Back over here. Let's see what it loads up. Actually, I move it over here. There we go. So now I can kind of see it as it's going. Kind of looks like that initial momentum to the long side in Reddit has subsided. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get a fill. That sucks. I can leave it on there all day, though, and hope. Right? It looks like the S&P 500 overall is kind of starting to turn over, though, so... Ooh, and in fact, the Treasuries really came down there. The 30-year did, in particular. And some steepening. Ah. I think that I should come over here and add to our flows here. Oil rising off Middle East tensions, let's say. Guess I don't need that anymore. Well, I don't like what I'm seeing there, but I'm not going to get too excited yet. Sam Altman says that GPT-4 kind of sucks as OpenAI preps to release a new model that will reportedly make ChatGPT really good, like materially better. Okay. The initial version did not suck. Whatever they did to it recently definitely made it suck. It refuses to do things in one chat while being happy to do it in another. Yeah. What is with that? Why is what you heard about this? I haven't had it happen to me yet, but like apparently there's been these situations where like ChatGPT has become lazy. It doesn't want to do things. They sandbagged it to milk more value and see cost savings in OPEX. Okay. That's a theory. Marketing, yeah. Yeah. Every time I hear about a new AI model, it's this one is an order of magnitude greater than the last and makes the previous one look primitive. Followed 3 months later by our current model sucks and has problems. They're not wrong. They're not wrong. Well, this trade here was really speculative. Kind of looks like it was a dud, huh? I'm glad I decided to do a feeler first. Thinking about giving up on it now, but let's I want to see if I let it break first.
At 10 a.m. Eastern Time, we get U.S. new home sales units forecast.
If I was live, I would be like so nervous I'd probably just puke it right here.
1 million, and U.S. new home sales change forecast 2.1% on the prior 1.5%.
What? Jimmy Hurio tweets, beef prices have exploded to all-time highs. Do you believe this is a calculated orchestration by world governments to get us to eat less meat? I'm going to say no. I don't think it's just... What a bias poll, Jim. Come on. No, just normal inflation, yes, for sure, or not sure. I'm going to say that it is an unintended side effect of policy that policymakers should have anticipated, but didn't. But who knows? Maybe it was intentional. How would I ever prove that? Why did you prove that? Why are programming content creators always so depressed? Every time I try to look for useful content online, it ends up being someone really depressed. Even if I Google simple things like web dev freelancing guides, everyone is just so depressed. Why? And where can I find content from people who actually enjoy their work? Do I need to become a programming content creator? Because I feel like I'm generally pretty upbeat, aren't I? Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not. I'm not depressed, okay? But I might not be the most upbeat person all the time. I try to be. I don't know if I actually am. Because I am kind of like, well, day trading, it's not really, the best deal. You probably won't have success with it, etc., etc., etc. I would maybe do better as a programming content creator than I have as a day trading one. So for that, day trading is what I truly, truly love. And I kind of make programming content for the day trading. I don't know. I think my issue if I was going to make programming content is like, what kind of videos would I even make? I don't even know what kind of videos would be interesting. Make videos about keyboards and crap? It makes you honest to yourself and self-aware, but I don't know if that is necessarily self-aware. I'd like to think that I'm more self-aware than the average person, but my take is that the average person is not very self-aware at all, right? So I don't know. How self-aware am I compared to other 40-year-olds? I really don't know. Really don't know. They say this thing that like if there's a distribution curve like this, most people think that we're like right here on the curve, right? That we're like slightly better than average. So I'd like to think that I'm more, well, I do think that trading makes you more self-aware. But I think that self-awareness kind of comes in domains, right?
At 10 a.m. Eastern time, we get US new home sales.
How self-aware are you about this thing about yourself and this thing about yourself, right? So if I have a tendency to be like a downer, even though I don't feel depressed, I could be a downer to other people, and I don't know if I would know that or not. I've never gotten that kind of feedback, at least. How do you know that they're depressed and not just a little bit awkward in front of the camera? Yeah, that's probably is exactly what it is. That or the content that they're making is just really boring. Like, If someone has enough time to have a YouTube channel where they post multiple times per week about programming, then they aren't a professional programmer. I don't agree with that. They could be unmarried with no children, right? Like if I just spent, if I spent my whole evening on the computer like I used to before I had kids, I could probably make 2 videos a week. I don't know if they'd be very good ones, but I could make 2 videos. I don't agree with that. Those people are busy working full-time jobs. Instead, they're content creators who dabble in programming. Maybe at one point they were full-time, but they're not now. Though the ones that are young, you'll find out they work for a year or 2 max. Well, that is something that bothers me about social media, man. And I wonder if this will change in the future. Do you think that in the future that the content creators that are big now will continue to be the big content creators and just get older? And so our content creators in 20 years will be older in general? Or do you think that it will continue this trend that the people most interested in social media and content, quote unquote, are young people, and ergo your content creators end up skewing young, like it has on TikTok, for instance? Because, for instance, something that has been creating a lot of controversy lately is trad wife content creators. And there's this one girl in particular that, man, people really don't like this girl. And it's kind of funny because all she does is just do homemaker stuff and talk about how great it is to be a homemaker and how much happier people would be if more women were homemakers. Now, the reason that people have an issue, I don't want to trivialize it, because she talks about like that you should be, let's use the word subservient. I don't think that that's what she says, but I think she kind of says you should be subservient to your husband. Well, there is something to that, like you don't want to have two bosses necessarily. Like you have to kind of work out a way of collaboration that generally involves one person or the other taking the lead in certain contexts, right? And men tend to want to be in that role. So when you get a woman that really wants to be in that role, there can be a lot of friction. It's true. But that doesn't mean that they should be subservient, and it doesn't mean that like that's the way that it's meant to be, or some of the reasons that this person. And you got to be careful with that sort of stuff, because if you are a woman and you put yourself in that situation, you got to be aware that you're creating a situation that your partner can abuse very easily.
Home sales.
So there is some danger to that, right? Okay, but I digress. That wasn't the point of all of this. I have to give all of my disclaimers so that I don't get canceled, okay? Here's what bothers me about the trad wife discourse, is that it's like some 20-something-year-old girl that like just barely had kids, right? If they've had kids at all, okay? Like, I would be way more interested in content from the 50-year-old woman who has had several kids, raised them all the way through teenagers, has daughters that are now becoming parents themselves, right? And have been, generally successful with that, right? Like I would be more interested in what does grandma have to say to her daughters about homemaking, etc., right? Because it does seem that my generation did not pick up those skills as much
3%
as previous generations did. Seems to me like there is some knowledge that like the boomers have that's not getting passed on. And it really bothers me that there's not more of the older experienced people that are creating content, And so I don't know if it's just that, they're old and they don't know how to or what, or if it's that the audience isn't interested in them. You know what I mean? So it's the same with programming. Like, not to toot my own horn, but I've been doing this for a little while. So, I'd be much more interested in content from myself or somebody like me, probably, right? That's had a lot of experience in the industry, rather than somebody that kind of like dabbled in programming a little bit and started being a content creator when they were really young, and even though they don't have a lot of experience. You went short 19.5. Well, I said that let's see if they'll break. I will put my stop right there at 8 ticks. Seeing a little bit of a run in Bitcoin right now to the upside. And oil has not backed off. So I was hoping for some Japanese yen intervention sort of thing. That is not coming through. And it does look to me like we are getting short flows in the treasuries because of concerns about oil. Which I find it curious because, of course, there's always kind of that correlation there, but they seem to be particularly sensitive to it this time. That I find a little bit odd. So could there be a shift where the treasuries start to become more sensitive to the data and to oil in particular? I think that would be more interesting for us as trading. But for today, it didn't do well for that position at all, did it? But it's okay. That one was super speculative, so I wouldn't want to have lost that much on it, but... So what was I going to say? Oh, I was going to pull up Fidelity here, see if anything changed. Well, there sure are a lot of puts. That's pretty funny, man. So it's not like there aren't calls out there, but notice how notice how all of the calls this is funny. Notice how all of the calls in the Reddit options are very close to the money, whereas the puts, they're all buying the furthest out of the money put that they can get. That's... But Reddit has continued moving higher. So what that says to me, you know what? Maybe I should have just market ordered in at the 10 cents instead of being greedy and going for the 5 cents. Because the 5 cents says to me that, like, that was a really good price, right? Because that's what I'm kind of looking at over here is like 25 days and you're only paying like $2 above, you know, the intrinsic value of it. That seems cheap for a stock that's $50, right? And has a pretty decent amount of volatility and stuff. That must only be because the options are brand new. So if I had hit in at 10 cents, you know, I would be able to sell them at break even at the very least. But maybe if I had been earlier or somehow had been lucky and gotten filled, I would be up $50. So look, Reddit's continued to move up, even though the S&P 500 has not.
Time we expect.
Then the options
man who speaks at the Royal
are not coming really down in price. So
industry policy,
at least those options have
productivity growth in Belfast.
What? Wow. Rand Paul lists stocking earmarks and programs in $1.2 trillion budget. $1.5 million to encourage video gaming in New York City. What? Really? How do you get government funding to get people to play video games in New York? How come I'm not getting a piece of this government funding? Can we get that government funding to get people to play video games in Utah, and I can set that up. Good grief. I mean, 1.5 million isn't that much, but come on. Changed my view. The American propaganda machine is one of the most effective in the world. The American propaganda machine is interesting and unique because it's not the same as other propaganda machines. So I don't know if the most effective is the right approach. Anyways. Well, by the way, looking at the spread, I'm not noticing these moves quickly enough, but so we saw a little bit of up move in the knob spread, but then that quickly came back down. So there's still some spread trading going on today, I guess. Maybe leftovers from last week. I don't know. I tell you what, it's been there at 18.5 for a long time, hasn't it? Since, well, it's almost been, okay, let's say the top of the hour. But you could even go further back than that and say it's almost been 20 minutes. Like, I think I put that stop there 20 minutes ago.
At 10:15
I'm really surprised it hasn't
Eastern
been
time, we expect comments from
triggered
Bank
yet.
of England's man who speaks at the Royal Economic Society Annual Conference, Industry Policy, boon or bane for productivity growth in Belfast.
Oh. Some issues with Fidelity getting quote streams there. Well, now there's been 2,000 contracts traded there. That probably is retail volume. But it's not really affecting the stock, is it? Because the stock just keeps going up. Stock just keeps going up. Oops, what? I didn't want to...
Israel Army Radio reports that PM Netanyahu will cancel planned
There we go.
delegation to Washington if the US does not veto the UN Security Council Gaza.
I'm a little bummed that it's moved up and but I didn't get fills. I'll leave it all there all day, but I think the chances of me getting filled are very low. Very low, right? I'm gonna do it that time? Not yet, but it's looking awfully likely. Yes, this is exactly how I feel. This got the picture, you know, that these nobles looking down on the peasants, and it's like fixed income, precious metals, energy commodities, right? And then down the equity traders. Yes, this is the way. I'm 100% in on this elitism. We interest rate traders, we're better. Fight me. Oh, I did get my stop triggered. But no slippage. So that's good. Trying to be positive here, right? Positive. Good thing it was a sim. Good thing number 2, I didn't catch any slippage on my stop. Huh? Of course, it would have been better if we had caught a winner today, but yeah, it's a Monday. What you gonna do? Now let's recenter things. It does look like the S&P 500 is starting to march upwards. What do you think is the Z? What? I can't read that. It's being covered up. ZT out. Well, I don't know about the 2 years. I think that you're going to continue to see more swinging over here in the 30-year. Because of this whole thing that, like, the interest rates are going to come down, but not very much. And they expect the rates to stay high for a long time. If we come over and we look at, like, what we've got for the rest of the week. Let me pull that over here. Okay, not a whole lot today. Tomorrow, consumer confidence. Oh, not a whole lot Wednesday, Thursday, GDP, and Chicago PMI. Oh, and consumer sentiment. And then Friday, PCE. So PCE is a pretty major headline number for the, because this is well, this one is actually really interesting because this is the Fed's preferred measure of inflation, but it includes some components that we have already gotten information on. So it's kind of a little weird in that, you know, it is very important and it really moves the market, but we know a bit more about what that number is going to be than we usually do. So it usually doesn't surprise by a whole lot. Okay, but the market has been paying attention to it, especially lately. And that's going to kind of be a big cloud hanging over the market for this week, I think. But, you know, just judging on what we've seen here this morning, I think that you might see some kind of slow and steady selling pressure this week. But I'm still on the lookout for Japanese yen, right? Like at some point this is going to come through and it's just going to go boom, because I think Japan is really upset at the price of their currency right now. So that's kind of the big things I think for this week. Looking forward. Okay, Reddit kind of finding a spot, I guess. They're still trading this thing, 26.62. Wonder if anybody on Wall Street Bets got any. I wonder if I can just take a picture of this. I'd have to like do the screen capture thing like this. And then how do I save it? How do I say this? They're buying the puts that they're buying are the ones that are the furthest out of the money they can get.
At 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, we get Dallas Fed Manufacturing Business Index forecast -11 spot 5 on the prior -11 spot 3.
I'm gonna mark it as a meme. This is pretty funny to look at it, and it's just like all of the puts are like they're putting it all into 25. It's just like, oh man. Maybe I should change this to be 20 strikes because I don't, but I'm pretty sure that that's as far as you can see. Yeah, 25 is the lowest. What was that prior track? Oh, Tame the Beast. I bet you that hits pretty hard if you're on a big sound system, huh? And those big old 808s.
According to Handelsblatt, leading German institutes expect GDP to grow by 0.1% in 2024, cutting the prior forecast.
Anything, I'm thinking back on this trade that we took here. I'm quite surprised that it came all the way back. I really didn't think that it was gonna. I thought there was maybe gonna come
And for 2025, they expect 1% GDP growth in Germany.
Just seems it's way too sensitive here. Although we'll see. So if oil like retraces that potentially, I'm not saying that's likely, but let's just say for the sake of argument that oil retraces. Do the treasuries go back up there? Because that might say, oh, something else is going on, right?
So when you move your finger...
You guys probably did. Oh, did you guys hear that? Oh, you did because I didn't turn the news squawk off. Hot mic moment. It's when you move your finger. I see what you guys are doing over there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. I'm going to go over into their Discord and tell them that. Come on, laugh at my joke in financial juice. The only reply I've gotten is, "Oh, so you heard it too?" Of course I heard it. We all heard it. Why would only you hear it? That doesn't make any sense. Kind of curious that well, like there was the move up. Let's try and analyze this volume a little bit more. When I look at the 10-year move up, was not attended by a ton of volume. Maybe 5,000 contracts. Slow and steady move down. Pretty choppy volume, but it was net sell by about 20,000 contracts. So there was a selling flow coming through from here. I don't know what that is. That was kind of unexpected. When I come over and I look at the other instruments, I don't see it in ZB, even though ZB went down the furthest. But I do definitely see it in the 5-year. So I guess this move down was just a mean reversion spread trade, perhaps? super happy about how my robot just keeps going, and it's been like a month or two now. I'm happy with my server. Should be moving forward on that stuff. Make this video, and then we'll have some time to move forward on this other stuff. Oh, what? This content is no longer available. Did they delete? Did they delete my post? Boo, they removed it. I wonder why they removed it. I would like to know why it was removed, not because I, like, want to demand that it gets put back or anything like that, but because I feel like I must have broken a rule and I don't know what the rules are now. What post? So I went over onto Wall Street Bets and I posted this screenshot of the options chain, and I pointed out that all of the volume in Reddit is happening at the furthest out of the money put strike possible. That's all I did. I marked it as a meme. I don't know if I was supposed to mark it as a meme, but yeah, they removed it. Sorry, this post has been removed by the moderators of Wall Street Bets. Watch them ban me next. That's the way that shit goes on Reddit. Post something that they don't like, and then they... Or is it that Reddit doesn't want you to to buy their puts? Right? Do we need to suppress activity relating to Reddit on Wall Street Bets to help keep their stock price up? Now I am suspicious. Now I am suspicious. I don't know. We'll see if Discord says. Usually you guys on Discord, you don't care or do anything, but I don't. Yeah, ooh, you know what we can do? We can post it on Twitter. Of course. So why didn't I think to post it on Twitter in the first place? Why didn't I think about this in the first place? Huh? Okay, so we're getting Dallas Fed there, and negative 14.4 versus 11. Oh, why do I get my financial crash? My financial juice crashed. Negative 14.4 versus negative 11.5. So. Yep, need to recenter that. Dude, oil is not backing off. Oil is up a whole $1 now. Is that really just off of that, you know, no negotiations breaking down headline? I just can't imagine. Okay, Fed's cut comprehensive measures of wage growth show gradual cooling. It could be that some services prices still adjusting to pandemic increase. I did not have that on my thing. Let's add this. Quick speaks. So lots of Federal Reserve jibber jabber today. Oh, and they pushing down again, huh? I'd say decent, hitting through decent icebergs too. Like there's some real selling on this. Well, I really underestimated the sellers today, guys. I'm going to have to be cautious about that for the rest of the week. Of course, like when I come back and I look at the volume profile, I didn't know if that's like a huge deal per se, but I don't know, definitely a little bit more concerned below like 16. And we're like right on the edge of that. You think we could come back to like the Federal Reserve prices though? Like if we were at Federal Reserve prices tomorrow, that would be really stunning. Especially in a week where I was like not sure that we were going to get a whole lot of movement. I don't know, like today's that is fairly tight, but that's a decent move. Like, you know, like a 4-tick move like that, if you're able to clearly identify the flows and trade it, like I prefer a trade like that. It's a little quieter, a little slower, more reasonable. But I don't know, man. I did not see that sell flow coming at all. Oh, geez, dude. Did you hear these comments from James Carville where he said that, like, there's too many preachy females in the Democrat Party or something? That was like, what the heck are you doing, Carville? Like, I don't think that your audience is going to like hearing that. I don't know. I mean, there is a thing that like the Democrat Party has become more feminine, but like the way that he's saying it is kind of like way left field. Like, okay, okay. Let's see here. I do wonder if he was projecting at all, co-host Kat Timpf added. Like maybe a little bit, because I don't know what kind of women, or he said females. I'm sorry, but calling women females like these females, stop. Please don't do that ever again. He shouldn't project that onto all the rest of us. I think the way he made his point was absurd. Exactly. Exactly. It is kind of like, it's kind of a really bizarre way to express himself. If you look at the numbers, 53% of married women backed Trump and 64% of unmarried women backed Biden. I'm sorry, but does this not bother anybody else? So, am I the only person that looks at that and says a huge difference between how married and unmarried women vote is kind of suggests something not ideal is going on? Like, that shouldn't happen. That's weird. I don't know. Yeah, he's gonna get drugged through the mud. See here, we got 20 minutes left still. I don't know if these flows over here in the treasuries are over either. It still kind of seems like it's doing interesting things to me. I do suspect that it is mostly mean reversion on the spreads, though. But you know, I could be wrong. That's why I was like, well, maybe they go back to the FOMC prices. Bitcoin moving back up to 70,000. That's encouraging for Bitcoin. I think in the end, I want Bitcoin to go up because I predicted that it's going to go up, but I don't actually want Bitcoin to go up. Like, right. I hate it. I hate that it's still a thing. Need to keep this centered there so I can keep track of where it's at. Kremlin has said that the U.S. is involved in the Ukraine war, so de facto the U.S. is a country at war with Russia per Reuters. Well, let's come back over here and take a peek. It looks like Reddit took a small little dip back to 50. Obviously, no chance of me getting filled. How do I have? Where's my r/machine learning. Your salary is determined mainly by geography, not your skill level. Conclusions from the salary model built with 24,000 samples and 300 questions. Oh. I have built a model that predicts the salary of data scientists, machine learning engineers based on 23,000 responses from the Kaggle Data Science Survey. Country of residence is an order of magnitude more important than anything else. Of course. Well, you didn't like control for that one to see like what the other factors were? The key question seems to be how to optimize the geography aspect of your career above all else. So live in New York, I guess, right? Or live in, well, that's just country. That's just country. Industry matters a lot. And yours matters too. House published papers actually does not matter as much. Employer uses machine learning, of course. I don't think that the results of this, I don't think that the person doing this analysis is likely to get a job based off of the analysis that he's posted there. Well, perhaps we could make a profit offering machine learning engineering services where salaries are low to customers where salaries are high. We could call it exploiting inefficiencies in the global labor market, or maybe outsourcing. Yes, that's... You have made one of the most basic mistakes of interpreting statistical significance or feature importance, in your case, as an indicator of causal dependence. You considered both geography and skill level as two independent indicators for the salary of data science, but how did you test that conclusion? That is, how do you know for sure that on average there's no difference in the skill level of a data science just in two different geographical locations? I'd even take that argument one step further to hypothesize from experience that better data scientists are more likely to find opportunities in the geographical locations that compensate you higher. So it's not that you need to optimize your location, but that you need to optimize your skill set that will land you an opportunity to optimize your location. It also applies that the locations with higher compensation are far more willing to absorb the skilled data scientists from foreign locations. Thank you. Someone ate the 3431 market sell into the low on ZF. Oh yeah, that's iceberging there. I don't know, like the self-lows continue to come through here though, right? Like, the amount of selling, I'd say, is fairly significant. Probably at least 20,000 contracts. And although it has slowed down, I kind of still see some evidence of those orders hitting in. I'm not seeing, like, the flows go the other way. Maybe it shifts around, but at least for our trading session, that's what it's going to be, is that it was a sell. So if we come over here, you know what? There wasn't a whole lot of news and events, but I forget what we discussed. Maybe I should just remove those ones. Okay. Sold ZN, anticipating JPY intervention, but selling came in. But session was mostly sell, stopping position out. I'm gonna say relatively strong selling flows for a Monday. Dear Reddit, what made you realize you are not young anymore? Nothing, I'm still young. I'm only 38. Having to scroll for my birth year to show up. Oh, man. My 80th birthday was a clue. I've been out of high school for as long as current teenagers have been alive. Yeah. It was when I started to think about, like, oh, you know, here's this relatively recent thing that happened, and you realize how many people that are out there on the internet that weren't alive when that happened. I'm hungover 2 days after one night drinking. That was a realization that I'm not so young anymore. I tell you what, man, sometime after about 35, your body definitely changes, and your like ability to recover from things is substantially less. When I have a hard workout, it just hits my nervous system so hard. I think that I'm not as in shape as I should be, but my system just seems to take it harder and harder every year. When I had to ask, what is Riz? Oh, come on. You just need to watch TikTok. You know what that will be. The moment I started considering 9 p.m. as late and got excited about buying a new type of vacuum. Oh my gosh. Did I tell you guys my vacuum cleaner story? So we go to get this vacuum cleaner. It's a pretty nice vacuum cleaner. We go to the store and we bring it home and it doesn't work. There's like a short in the hose. Super expensive vacuum cleaner. Didn't work. Okay, but then we got it fixed and it's amazing. It's amazing. Like this room here, I vacuumed this room really thoroughly with it. Smells different today. Smells different. The vacuum did something. Yes, we're pretty excited about the new vacuum cleaner. But seriously, getting a new vacuum cleaner can be such a game changer. Yeah. When the function turns on a light and you see everything getting sucked up, it gives me a great sense of power. What? Where's my Dyson? No, the Dysons aren't that good, though. Young people piss me off and I'm not even 30. Oh, man. That selling is still coming through. Look at them hitting to 17. And they got the 29.7 out too. I'm really curious what's driving these sell flows. Well, I don't know. I think that hopefully tomorrow we'll have a little bit better of an idea why. But I am like immediately on the lookout for, okay, could we get more selling the rest of this week? I don't know. Could still just be mean reversion stuff. So I don't know. It does seem curious to me though. So like oil was at a dollar jump at 82 and now they've touched as high as 82.50. So I don't know what's going on. I think that story over in the Middle East may be a bigger deal than we think. Maybe the market knows that means that they're going to be heading into Rafah soon, and that could cause some drama. I don't know, but seeing oil break out here in this way is pretty significant. We should come over here and look at it on the chart. You know, I'd say that's definitely breaking out. In fact, let's come back, duplicate in new tab, change this to CL, crude oil futures. Okay. So it's not until we get to 93 that we're at October prices. So I don't know if I could say, well, and there's 83.20. Okay. So 83.20. I think we'd need to get there before I would start to be saying, we're getting like momentum in this. Octavius took +4 on that. Good job. I really wish I knew what was driving the selling flows today, because I really didn't expect that. Sometimes that happens. It's like you hold on to a trade that's like, there shouldn't be selling that hard, and then it ends up selling really hard. Like what the heck? All right, guys. We'll change the title today to oil. Oil jumps. The oil jumps to start week. Well, we'll say. All right, guys. I will see you tomorrow. In the meantime, stay excellent, team.